Is Philip Lowe Australia's biggest Finfluencer?
Answer is yes. He damn straight is.
I agree. This is something where what this guy says moves markets. If I go on Twitter or Facebook or whatever it is right now and I put my commentary around rate rises or interest rates in general out, would anyone really take it that seriously?
I would, Charlie. Like, I care what you say. But the rest of the world, maybe not. but this is the killer, right? Because he might not have that big of a fanfare, right? Like, he might not have the biggest following on his Twitter account, on his Instas, on his Facebook page. He probably doesn't even have a Facebook page or a Facebook profile. But the problem is the second and third stages. Dude, every single person in property retweets what he says, or like just tweets it as their own interpretation or version of it, which is probably even more dangerous. Every news outlet, oh my gosh, head of the RBA, Philip Lowe's coming out with something new. This is gospel. Like, it's, for him, the influence is almost through like the second sphere of, I don't know, amplification, I'll call it. Like, I actually feel sorry for the guy.
I do as well. So let's just look at this. I don't think Phil Lowe was really that well known in a low interest rate environment or when there was low inflation.
No.
And since there's been changes to that, he's almost become the like villain, right? So when like he's the guy that decides if the rates are going to go up, and because that changes households, right? When rates go up, if you hold a mortgage, like you're impacted from that. It's been very like evident that the media has just like slammed him. Like, this is the perfect villain, right? Because he can't rebuttal in the ways, like it's nice to have someone to blame. And like the media cycle is just perpetuating this in a really, really heavy way. But I want to ask you the question on this. Do you feel that Philip Lowe is is the role he does impossible? Like, if you look at what's occurred in the last couple of years, would a different person have made a difference here? Or was he in an impossible situation and he's done reasonable considering what is unfolded here?
Dude, that's a heavy question. So I think of it this way. I'm like, well, who and what influences the decision of the RBA, right? Because it's one thing to be the head of the snake, but the body still does something, right? So he has all of his constituents within the RBA that provide him data, analyze the data, interpret the data, and he's the spokesperson essentially, which uses their views. He's then got the power of the government saying, this is what we want to do and this is what we need to do as an influencing force, but then he's also got the people and the populace of Australia. And he's just like...
Well, they're an independent agency, Grant. There's no, by no means a government influencing his decisions. You don't think they're piling on pressure as well?
Of course. Man, I've read way too much history books, 110%. There are conversations, whether or not they're going to be published and noted. They have to have the conversations. And so I sit there and I feel for him because I see him more as a spokesperson. Right?
I'm watching you dodge a question here.
Do you like this?
Do you think it's a Philip Lowe problem or do you think it's a role problem?
It's a role problem. It's a role problem, which is why I feel bad. So you think
he did reasonably considering what had gone down?
If you put me in as Philip Lowe, the outcome and the comments would have been exactly the same. If you put you in, I think it would be exactly the same. You're not talking about a CEO of a company that can really sort of influence and drive and innovate and things like that. This is, in my opinion, the consensus. He follows the consensus at the time. It's like, this is what needs to happen in their opinion, based on RBA, based on the government, based on the people. And you, at the time, with the information you had, you would have still landed on the same outcome. It's not because of this one fierce leader that's like, well, screw you government, screw you RBA, screw or the rest of the RBA team, screw you the rest of the populace. I'm going to go this and I'm going to blaze a path, blaze my own trail. I don't see it happening. He's a spokes guy.
Something I've been thinking a lot about is like awareness of impact. Right. So as I said, imagine this, right? For years and years, you're Philip Lowe and it's like people aren't watching your media releases or tuning in at the level they once did and you've just become accustomed to it. Right. And then all of a sudden you're now like one of the biggest influencers in the country. What you say matters and you're not aware of it. It would be very easy to lull yourself into the idea that you don't have the influence you really do. And when you make comments like, hey, maybe rates won't go up till 2024, you think it's like, old times, but in reality is like people are like, let's get tattoos. And then on the back of that, it's like, whoa, I didn't necessarily have awareness to how impactful I am here. How powerful are my words?
Totally. And I remember I was reading a statistic, which was like apparently 164,000 Australians got into the market in 2021. And so like the argument is, well, based on his points of, well, interest rates probably aren't going to increase until 2024. The argument is that these people might not have actually gone into the market if they knew that rates were going to change or rates were going to rise, etc. Which is kind of where this argument comes from, which is like, well, his comments influenced it. But I still look at this. Who wants to be the guy that says, hey, Australian economy, just be cautious because we've printed a lot of money, right? Don't spend a heap of it because it could create inflation. No one.
I disagree with that so much. He gets paid $1 million a year. I think many people would happily take that role on.
For the money?
I'll do it for $1 million right now. I will literally, if they want to pay me $1 million, I will get up all the time and say, listen here, personal responsibility and savings.
Okay, so what about this? So imagine you've got 100 people in the RBA and you're the head of it, and 99 of them say something positive because we need to make sure the economy is going to continue growing because we've just printed a whole heap of money. You feel like you'll be the guy that will stand at the front and go, nope, I'm going to go the complete opposite way.
I think you're mixing 2 points here. So this is where I look at it and go, how is it possible, right? Could anyone have predicted the pandemic?
No, impossible.
Okay.
Impossible.
I agree. So how could anyone predict the rates wouldn't go up till 2024? That was a mistake. That's not going against or for anything. That's dumb forecasting. There's no way he could have, and he's got caught out by what is eventuated in wars.
But
you might have consensus and things, but how it was communicated was not great.
Okay. Yeah, so it would have been the consensus of the RBA, but you're right. The way that it was communicated, the words were put on a piece of paper and the things that were said to a camera, I agree with that. He could have verbalized that in a better format. I will agree with that. All right, fellow property investor. If you loved the value from this short video and wanted to know more about how you can win at property investing, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now. Alternatively, click subscribe and you'll never miss another one of these videos.